Nearly 2 years of war in Ukraine.
The northeast of Ukraine is being pounded by
orders Russian troops to begin
The Russia-Ukraine war, which began in 2022, has captured the world's attention with its devastating human toll and significant geopolitical implications. As the fight progresses, people are left wondering how and when it will finish. Understanding the probable outcomes of this conflict is critical for both those directly involved and the global community. In this video, we will look at numerous scenarios for how the Russia-Ukraine war could end, taking into account the historical backdrop, current events, potential resolutions, geopolitical consequences, and expert predictions. Historical context. To understand the potential end of the Russia-Ukraine war, one must first understand the historical circumstances that led to the conflict. The relationship between Russia and Ukraine has been complex and controversial for generations. Ukraine, formerly part of the Soviet Union, won independence in 1991. However, Russia has traditionally considered Ukraine to be inside its sphere of influence, causing problems over the country's Western orientation and aspirations to join NATO and the European Union. The crisis erupted violently in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea after a challenged vote. This act was severely condemned by the international world, resulting in significant sanctions against Russia. Following the annexation, fighting broke out in the Donbas region, with Russian-backed separatists clashing with Ukrainian forces. These events paved the way for Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, which marked the start of the present conflict. Current situation. As of now, the conflict in Ukraine remains severe, with tremendous destruction and loss of life on both sides. The battle displaced millions, claimed thousands of lives, and left enormous territories in ruins. Ukrainian soldiers, assisted by Western military aid, have resisted strongly, resulting in a prolonged and brutal attrition war. Russia and Ukraine are not the only key players in this conflict. The United States, NATO, the European Union, and other international actors all play important roles. Sanctions against Russia have been clenched and military backing for Ukraine has grown, making this a proxy war with global implications. The humanitarian impact is tremendous, with widespread displacement, infrastructural loss, and an impending financial crisis. Possible end scenarios. Diplomatic resolution. One possible result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict is diplomatic resolution via peace talks and negotiations. This scenario would involve both parties meeting at a negotiating table, maybe mediated by international organizations such as the United Nations, the European Union, or NATO. Peace talks could result in a ceasefire and a series of agreements resolving the conflict's fundamental issues, including territorial disputes, security guarantees, and economic reparations. Concessions might include Russia leaving captured regions, Ukraine accepting a neutral status, and the removal of some sanctions against Russia. While tough, this conclusion would limit additional carnage and open the way for rebuilding and healing. Military victory. Another possible outcome is a military victory for either side. For Ukraine, this would include recovering all seized regions, including Crimea, and restoring sovereignty. Such a victory would most likely be celebrated as a triumph of national resilience and international support. However, it would also require sustained military success and continuous Western assistance. In contrast, a Russian victory would involve maintaining authority over occupied territories and possibly extending farther into Ukraine. This conclusion would most likely have serious political and economic consequences for Russia, including protracted international isolation and rising domestic dissatisfaction due to the war's expenses. Stalemate and frozen conflict. A stalemate, which results in a frozen conflict, is a more likely situation. In this instance, active hostilities would cease without a formal peace deal, leaving contested areas in limbo. This situation is similar to earlier frozen conflicts, such as those in Korea and Cyprus, in which ceasefires were reached but long-term peace remained elusive. A frozen war would allow both sides to avoid further escalation while continuing to advance their respective claims. Russia could strengthen its hold on specific territories without fully annexing them, but Ukraine will continue to receive international backing and strive for the eventual reintegration of certain areas. However, this scenario would result in prolonged instability and uncertainty in the region. Regime change. Another risk is that political changes in Russia or Ukraine could influence the path of the conflict. Internal dissent, economic difficulties, or power conflicts in Russia could result in a leadership transition, potentially leading to a shift in foreign policy and departure from Ukraine. Political developments in Ukraine, such as a more sympathetic government, might have an impact on the war's trajectory. Regime change is inherently unexpected, but it may generate chances for new diplomatic activities or shift the balance of power in favor of one side. Geopolitical implications. The result of the Russian-Ukraine war will have far-reaching geopolitical consequences. For Europe and NATO, the war has already resulted in an update of security strategies, more defense investment, and a more cohesive response to Russian aggression. The crisis has also underlined the significance of energy security, given Europe's reliance on Russian gas. The war represents a fundamental test of the United States' global leadership and commitment to preserving democratic values. Continued backing for Ukraine is expected to strengthen US relationships, but it may also lead to increased conflict with Russia and China. The role of China is particularly noteworthy. While officially neutral, China maintains close economic and strategic connections with Russia. The outcome of the battle may influence China's calculations regarding its territorial ambitions, particularly about Taiwan. The global economy is also severely impacted, with disruptions to energy markets, supply lines, and food production. Rising costs and economic instability are influencing countries all over the world, highlighting the interplay of modern geopolitics. Expert predictions. Military analysts, political scientists, and think tanks have all made various projections regarding the outcome of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Some experts believe that, despite the challenges, a diplomatic resolution is still the most likely possibility due to the tremendous costs associated with an ongoing dispute. They claim that negotiations that result in a ceasefire and long-term peace will benefit Russia, Ukraine, and the international community alike. Others, however, believe that a prolonged impasse is more likely. They highlight both sides' strongly entrenched positions and the difficulty of winning a decisive military success. This viewpoint suggests that the war may continue at a lower level, with neither side ready or able to make significant compromises or gains. Think tanks such as the RAND Corporation and the International Institute for Strategic Studies IISS have considered many scenarios for the war's end. These groups underline the importance of continued international engagement and assistance for Ukraine. They emphasize the significance of continuing military help, economic assistance, and diplomatic measures to put pressure on Russia and protect Ukraine's sovereignty. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is complex and multidimensional, with no simple solutions. Whether through diplomatic resolution, military victory, stalemate, or political changes, the war's conclusion will impact the future of not only Russia and Ukraine, but the entire world community. As we navigate these unpredictable times, continued awareness, diplomacy, and support for people affected by the conflict are critical. Understanding prospective outcomes and their ramifications can help us prepare for whatever comes next. The future of the Russia-Ukraine war is unreliable, but by considering the various alternatives and learning from history, we can strive for a conclusion that delivers long-term peace and stability to the region. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up.